Hi guys, I'm Judy Elmore and I'm a freelance editor with Black Wolf Editorial Services. Recently, writers from around the world have finished their NaNoWriMo challenge and are now moving into what we call the wet next months, which is where we're intended to edit our work. In our previous video, we spoke about the stages of editing. Today, I want to talk about some of the editing tricks that I use myself. Just as a reminder for those about the various different stages of editing, during NaNoWriMo you were working on the concepts in your first drafts, but of course now you're moving into developmental editing where we're looking at a bit more of our plot, our character, our narrative voice, and depth of perception, a variety of different aspects. And of course, copy editing is where you're actually looking at punctuation and grammar, not developmental editing. Yeah, it helps, but it's not what you're looking at. And of course, proofreading is your very final stage of editing. But of course, the real editing process, or at least how it feels to a writer, and I can say this because I am a writer myself, is that we write and then we read and then we rewrite and then we yell at the computer screen, bang our head on the desk, cry, scream, walk away and eat the chocolate, and then come back the next day and start the whole process again. Yes, editing can be frustrating. One of the techniques that I use is I read everything aloud. Yeah, okay, I talk a lot, and yeah, okay, sometimes I wonder if I like the sound of my own voice. Maybe, don't know. But reading aloud a piece of prose actually helps you hear the cadences and the way it's spoken. It will allow you to understand what's going to happen when and if that manuscript is ever turned into an audiobook. It is also going to help you understand what's happening with your dialogue. You're going to be able to find your sticky spots and your awkward phrasings, things that don't roll off the tongue very nicely. And you're going to be able to hear where you have repeated words multiple times and you'll go, maybe I need to look at that. You'll be able to hear any sentence constructions that you use frequently. If you need to, put on an accent. Why not? How does your character really say that line? What comes out of your mouth? There are a couple extensions that you can use to reading aloud. One of them is record yourself, then play it back. A client of mine actually recommended this one to me because I'm always on her about reading her story aloud. And she doesn't like to read to just the cat. She finds that a bit disconcerting. So she'll record herself and then play it back. You can use the dictaphone app on your smart device, your smartphone or your tablet. Or for that matter, if you've got recording software on your computer, such as Audacity, which is free by the way, then you can record yourself using that. Another extension is to use the Read to Me apps on smart devices. Originally, these were created for accessibility features for those who are vision impaired, so they could hear what's being on the screen, what's there. Some programs have this built in. Scrivener, from on the Mac version in particular, has it built in. I so hope it's going to be there in the new version. I'll find out. Some Kindles have it. My one doesn't, but I know the brand new one does. There are different computerized voices that you might find available. Just word of advice, try to avoid the voice that makes those erotic sex scenes sound really hilarious. Yeah, Stephen Hawking, sorry, doesn't quite work it for me. Another thing that I do, and I do this frequently, is I act it out. So if there is a physical motion that I need to understand how my character's moving, I will actually physically do it. What is the natural moves that will happen? How can I describe that? It's the facial expressions. I'll pull the faces and I'll look at myself in a mirror and what is happening. It allows me to get into a character's head and really understand. And sometimes I will actually act out the whole scene from the point of view character's perspective, just so I can understand what is going on in their head and what are they seeing, where are they looking. I have within my toolkit, I have a mirror so I can look at myself and make those facial expressions and know exactly what it's looking like. Then I also have recording devices. I have recording software both on my computer and on my phone so I can record myself. When I'm in my car, I'm driving along and a scene will come into my head and I'll start acting that scene out, but I'll record it so I don't forget what I said. Yeah, you have to have these things. I also have a stage sword. Now, I love my sword and sorcery. I love high fantasy. And there's been a couple of times where I described a particular fight scene and I'm like, would that really happen? Does the arm really move that way? And I pulled out my stage sword, which is decently weighted, and I moved it along and went, no, that's actually really uncomfortable and I'd wrench my shoulder and probably dislocate it. But by having that insight through acting it out, I was able to create something that feels more real and more natural. I have a flashlight in my acting out kit as well. There's a variety of different reasons why I have a flashlight, but one of them is the fact that some of my characters are really creepy people that like to work at night. Some of my writing buddies have other props that they use for acting it out. They'll have actual costumes like the corsets, the hat, vintage sunglasses. Sometimes they'll have the little spaceship that they'll go, whoo, here we go, we're creating their little spaceship, and they'll have wings. I actually know writers who will wear wings while they're writing their stories. I have writing buddies that have wands. One of my writing buddies, and if you've ever followed my Twitter feed or my Facebook feed, you'll see a couple of the photos that she does. She actually has a series of dolls with all the props that go with it to recreate scenes. It's so cool. And of course, I have one of my writing buddies as well has a gun that they use as a stage prop that's to help them just know how their characters are going to react and how they're going to move the gun as they move across the field. Another method that I use myself is reading on different medium. Computer screens can be really harsh on the eyes, and if you are suffering from eye strain, but you need to get that editing done, then you have to look at other methods. I also print out occasionally sections of the story. Now, I do this for two reasons. One, for some reason, paper allows the brain to see the writing differently, and so you focus on different things. But it also helps to do the red pen edit. So that red pen's coming out and that page is bleeding. But I've also been known to take a chapter of my manuscript or a couple of short stories, and I literally cut and paste. I will take the scissors to that printout and I will reorder the paragraphs and make it work. It's an old technique, but it actually works. I will occasionally put my stories onto my Kindle and I'll read them from there because I'm looking for story continuity or the flow or the pacing, and being able to just put it into an environment where you can't edit it, you can't tweak it, you just have to read it. It helps you. It really does. And if you're using Scrivener, yeah, easy output. Read it on a tablet. There are so many different things that you can do. In our next video, we're going to talk about show versus tell. What actually is show? How do we use it? What is it for? How does it work? When is it better to actually use tell? And how can we find that balance between show versus tell? That video should be available in the next couple of days. In the meantime, if you have any questions about what it was that we discussed today, please feel free to leave a question or comments down in the comments below, and I will take a look at them and I will come back and answer any questions that you might have. Alternatively, you can contact me through Twitter, and that's at blackwolf_ed, or you can find me on Facebook, and that's Black Wolf Editorial, or you can drop me a line through my website, and that's blackwolfeditorial.com. If you're interested in my personal projects, feel free to find out and drop me a line through Twitter at Judy L. Moore, or you can check out my website, and that's judylmoore.com. In the meantime, I look forward to helping you take your writing to the next level.